All right, is everybody ready to learn about AI? Well, so everybody's talking about AI as the magic bullet to solve all of our problems in the world. It's of course not that. And as model railroaders, there's a lot of things we can get out of it. And that's what I wanted to go here. This is a high level presentation. I'm not getting into the specifics on technical details of how AI works. I would get that wrong anyway. But I not loud enough.
Follow the microphone is what they're trying to do.
I know the speakers are like right back at me, so it sounds like I'm louder. So I'm keep pulling it away.
All the world treated like an ice cream cone.
That's right.
So yeah, everybody lick it, and we all transmit that disease.
9-volt battery. Try licking that.
No.
Sit down.
So I wanted to go with a high level presentation of what we can use AI for as model railroaders. I will say I started this about 2 months ago. Probably some of the things I'm going to say are already out of date because it's moving that fast. One of the things that Dan mentioned earlier, I have a section in here, and I even used a different site to reference doing a very similar thing. I have here a list of a bunch of different sites that you can use of different versions of AI that we'll be covering here in this presentation. So that'll be available when you're done, so you can take a look and get to all of these different points and utilize some of these tools. So starting off, what is AI for us? How many of y'all are actually using AI? I mean, we're referencing it a lot. So, well, probably about a third in here are using different forms of AI. In the simplest form, AI is just another tool for model railroaders. It gives us another way to model and so that we can get down to doing what we really want to do. Do the stuff that you don't want to do, so you can focus on the things you have fun with when you're model railroad. So I mean, in the simplest, it is a machine learning tool. It's trying to take some of the tedious work out of what we do. One of the things it's called model railroader's dilemma when you're building. It's a lot of us have a lot bigger eyes than we have time to get things done. I mean, we'd all love to have a 100 by 100 layout that we can finish out. Very few of us actually have the time to finish out a layout that way. So we want to use AI in a way that can simplify that and let us focus on getting some of that done and getting rid of the extra stuff. Because our goal is to build a really good model. I mean, in the simplest form, that's what we're trying to do. Let's see. So a couple of the things we're looking at, some of the other ways I'm using AI as we're talking up here. I will say this presentation, when I started the presentation, it was about AI. So the first thing I did is I put in my basic information of what I wanted to present, and I put it into AI. And this presentation was started with AI. It built out an outline, laid out a bunch of slides that became blanks that I could start with AI. The text generation, I was talking with Steve over here, he even used AI in helping to fill out some of the text in his book. It's, again, doing some of the things that are more tedious so you can focus on the pictures. That's what your main focus is on, and getting that research down. And it's a tool to help get that done and let you focus on the fun stuff. One of the first categories and the easiest category to see for a lot of people is the different ways you can use AI in scenery. I've done a lot in the past with different photo editing softwares. Photoshop is, of course, the biggest name in that. And 10 years ago, that took a lot of time and a lot of powerful computers to get that done. Now, like you were talking about with the logo for the convention next year, it was done with AI, and that was done in probably 10, 15 seconds. It takes that's where all these data centers are going up for all that processing power, but it gives a tool that you can visualize your concept very quickly. I can say you're probably going to have to do an iterative approach because it'll come up with some weird stuff to begin with. But it does give you a professional looking presentation when you're done. And then and you're not getting online using somebody else's knowledge. It's actually something you can utilize without copyright issues as well. So I laid out a few categories of ways we can look at this. First one here is looking at fun ways to use AI. If you want to visualize something you want to change in your layout, some of you may recognize this layout here. If you want to visualize a major change you want to do to the layout, you can throw in a few options into AI. If you look at the bottom left there, that's the original picture. This is Brady's layout up in Sherman. So one of the things tossed around with the group up there was we needed to add a helix to get more track in there. It was very tongue in cheek of what changes were going to be made to it, but we wanted to throw it in just see what it would pop out. So put the original image of the layout down here in the bottom left, went online and found a helix that matched the size of what we were looking to, that would be an option to fit in the layout, and threw it in. And that top left picture came out really quickly of visualizing, put a helix in there. I don't know why I connected it to the temporary table there, but it gave us something we could play with and discuss in the group. And no, we're not adding a helix to that layout, but that was a fun way to look at it and play with a different idea, and gives a very good visual of what something would look like in a layout. So another use that a lot of people are putting in with these is they want to create backdrops. So several of us here have very nice printers that can have custom backdrops. Charles has a perfect example where he's gone up and taken pictures of exactly where he's modeling and laying out a beautiful backdrop that matches exactly where he wants the layout. Some of us don't have the ability to get up there and take those pictures, but AI can build off of just text prompts of matching what you want for your layout. So this prompt was, got off my notes. The prompt was, you want a 1950s Appalachian town as a backdrop. I put in some of the time of day, wanted a morning scene, and that's why it's got all the smoke coming in the backdrop. But if you want to build a backdrop that fits exactly what scene you want, you can even add an image in and say to give AI to modify the image to fill that space. It lets you play with different ideas, and then all you got to do at that point is print it to the scale you want to fit. Let's see. Another way we play with images, we get a lot of older pictures that are black and white, and AI can turn those to a lot better image very quickly. You get lower quality images you can improve. I will say you do have to watch. AI is not the smartest thing. It will make its best guess of what data it has. So I didn't put any information in on which way this was going. I wanted to see what it'd pop out. Picture on the right came out, just colorized this photo. It was able to interpret the blue, which is correct that's Atlanta and West Point. So the blue is actually correct on that image. The yellow is not. It's more of a gray silver. So you have to go in and prompt it, push it in the right direction, but it can make that transition very easy. And I intentionally left it up here the wrong color to show where you have to prompt it and move it in the right direction.
No, it's fine.
Another thing where I'm using these, if you're doing a lot of backdrop buildings, we're doing a cardboard and buildings you need just textures on the building. So that's what I was working on here. I wanted a building, I just threw it up. I wanted the top half of the building red brick, the bottom half Austin stone, and it popped out this image, and even gave it as an image showing what it'd be in a perspective image. So what I would take this image on the left, you could print it, apply it to a cardboard style building, and you would have the texture for your building right there. If you wanted to customize and put openings and windows and doors and all that in the building, you could actually throw that into your image and let it build the image that you just, it becomes a template you cut out and put on, apply to a building. Another quick way to just improve the structures you're already working on. So the next section I was looking at, and Dan already touched on this, on using 3D printing in your modeling and finding a way to AI to improve that. Uh, so right here, and my daughter's probably going to be mad at me for using this image, but I wanted to. Dan mentioned specifically about taking pictures of people and turning them into 3D images. Speed probably knows more about this than anybody else because he's had this scanner that for until a year ago was the only way to build a 3D image for a person, is to go do a full 3D scan. And what it took, a scan of probably 10, 15 minutes to scan somebody, and then another 30, 40 minutes of cleaning up the model afterwards. Yeah, you have to be a little awkward there and not move for as you're spinning around the room while he's scanning you. But with this is a single image, and it turned and didn't interpreted the image and turned it into a 3D model off here on the right. That's one name you hear on this. Meshy is the site that I've do most of the work on. I'm using. What was the Dan? What was the name of the one you used? It's Sam 3D. Trippo is another one that is very similar. Yeah. The some of these, like the 3D modeling, there's a fee-based system where some of these others are free, but they give you a more powerful tool. So it does make it worth it. And it makes it gives you a lot faster starting point when you're doing 3D models. Another one I was looking is for structures, because we all want structures that match the area we're modeling. So what I wanted to create here, this is the Katy Depot up in Denison. So as you get into the pay sites, you can do multiple pictures that build a much better model. This is from a single image, and this is a postcard image from sometime in the 40s or 50s that's still going around. You can get online. But so I created a single image to create this model off here on the left. That took about 10 minutes for it's processing the background. The 3D takes a little bit longer to process. But a single image, it becomes a mesh file that you can go in and clean up and take out the center, and then you can print it and just go over a 3D printer and just print that model. So yep. And yeah, because it's definitely that's one I want to do. And I'll say that the more you put into it, the better, because it didn't have both sides of the model. I mean, both sides of the building, the front and back are the same on the 3D model, but that's why you take multiple pictures. You go around with 10 pictures around a building, and it's going to have a very good model all the way around all four sides. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's getting smarter and smarter. And this is one of the tools that was changing while I was writing it. And I went from 2.5 to 3 on the version model it was presenting. And there was night and day difference between them. It's evolving very quickly that the models are getting better and better. So another thing you can do with the 3D modeling is you don't have to even have an image you start with. So Meshy's really good. And if you wanted, I just typed in a prompt and I said I wanted, I believe these were 1880s miners, and I wanted a selection. So, and it gave me a group of miners that are all 3D models, um, and every one of these is unique. I wish they were a little more unique because it seems like four of them have the exact same beard. But you, with a few more prompts, you can separate them out. And again, this was a single prompt for most of this presentation. I didn't want to refine the prompts. I wanted to keep it as simple as possible, single prompts to give what it was trying to show. So you don't have to put that much effort into it. And easily, it even came with the raft all connected, so you can print that as one object, have all your people available, and then you have a selection of unique people that fit that layout. Just skipped a slide. Nope. Okay. So another thing that a lot of us are using, I was talking with Dan Russo. He's playing a lot online. It just has he likes designing layouts, and he just goes online, prints out the operations plan, the layout, and presents it. There's some communities online that are layouts that'll never get built, just theoretical layouts of going through and designing different ways to do this. So on this one, I had a very simple prompt that listed up there at the top. They gave the room size 10 by 12, design a shelf layout for switching district in Portland, Maine, 1974. I'm not even sure why I picked that time now. But it came up, there were a few additional prompts to tell me what I wanted to give, but it came out with the text prompt of laying out all the different specifications I wanted in that layout. So and gave a full description of how you could start this layout. And again, I don't think this is something to use for a modeler. It's not, we all want to put our touch on it, but it gives a starting point that you can go in and just edit the sections that you don't like. Of course, this came out, I think on this one I had refined it, defining what I meant by shelf or the depth of the shelf, going around trying to fit it into a space. So this was trying to fit a prompt to fit a specific space uh, to build a layout, to give an idea of what you could start with. And even from the next step on that is it gave a full schematic drawing of what we're doing, what is going to show up on this layout. Again, not improving the original product. There are a few things that are a little quirky on here because I set a 24-inch shelf and it went 24-inch height for some reason. And the other thing that's odd about it is it's two railroads that are coming in. Which it describes in the previous slide of it's the MEC and the B&M that are meeting at this location, and they meet, and these two tracks don't connect to each other, which I think you would want if you have a switching layout. But it does give a good starting point, and then you could go in and modify your design or your plan to improve that. From what I can tell, they're pretty close. I mean, you're thinking it's supposed to be 24 inches this direction, so you got three tracks at 2 inches apart for HO scale. So about half of his tracks, half of his building's a little off, but you could fit it in, and I like that it even gave you different industries that you could start with for developing a switching platform off of. Yeah. Yeah. And this lays so three tracks on a 24-inch with buildings behind it should be easily doable. Yeah. Well, yeah, and if you're not an engineer where you think in exact dimensions all the time, where that's the first thing I do is go lay out exactly the spacing, and yeah. So it does give a way to visualize it. Again, simplifying the initial planning of your layout, and then you go in and do the finished work. Um, So another way a lot of people are using this is in operations of a layout of what can we do, and coding is also used a lot for with AI. So if you're wanting to improve operations, so if it can help build the layout so you know which industries you need to switch. It can do automated way bills for this. This was a neat one that popped up. I didn't even prompt that it was Canadian Pacific, which is my railroad. So I was very happy about that. But it gave a realistic looking way bill. I don't think did this one as a card. I wanted a realistic way bill used, and this is from the previous prompt of the level layout. So that's why it used different. It already knew the industry names. So it can build waybills to route some of your rolling stock around. It also has the ability to take a database. If you put all of your rolling stock in and all of your industries, it can help arrange how you would send that rolling stock around the layout. Again, it's not infallible, so you have to double check everything, but it does give you a starting point. And it can output this. It output this as a PDF file that could then be transferred to something else that you can edit it. Electronics, and this is not one of my strong points, so I didn't go too in depth on this. I wanted to keep it simple and what this can give us automatically. I know there are some in the room that are much better at electronics and do some very sophisticated things. And if you talk with them, they use AI as well to shorten their time and development. Um, so on this one, I put a very simple prompt. I wanted a circuit that would, with a IR sensor. So when a train came by, it turned on a light and then left the light on for 20 seconds after, yes, 20 seconds after the train passed. This was Claude. It's a little bit more on the electronic side for development, and it output all of the code, which I'm not showing all of the code. It goes down here on the floor for a while. But it gave all of the code automatically. It also gave me a wiring diagram with the board you would use and the connectors and how you connect the sensor and LEDs in this to build this circuit. It's just a very simple explanation, but it did this almost instantly. Let's see. Oh, one other thing that AI is getting developed in is integrating in with other devices. So I think smart home devices are becoming very common. A lot of people are using them on their layout device with individual units of connecting your Alexa or well, Alexa, the Apple and Google version as well. I've got Alexa at my house, so that's the one I'm familiar with. But you can tie several different smart home devices directly to individual components that you can automate your layout. These are also getting connected to. You can connect it directly to a computer to run different components in your layout. Of say you walk in, say I want to turn my from day to night, and you can configure your layout to shut down all the overhead lighting, turn on all your dark lighting, and turn all the lights inside all the buildings. And you can automate if you go through a central control. You can use AI to help integrate that in and automate some of that point. It's definitely more. It gives you a different way to finish that layout. Um, some of the other things we do have to sorry, some of the things we do have to consider with AI when we're integrating this in is um, ethical concerns when you're using AI, because this is a tool. It is not a replacement for craftsmanship. Uh, NMRA really hasn't made a lot of direct judgments on when it can be used and when it can't. But I'd say the the best rule of thumb is, yeah, yeah, I know it's coming, but the general rule is if it should not be replacing craftsmanship. It can be a way to simplify processes to get to that craftsmanship. So, say you want to scratch build a car, and you can use AI to help build the plans for that, but you don't want AI to build the model that you just go print it. So it can simplify some of the data gathering, but it should not replace your craftsmanship as far as the awards programs go. And yes, I think that's probably something that's going to change here very quickly as far as this presentation. Um, you can use it for one thing you could use for a lot of cars is when you're fine detailing, when you're building the fine detailing, that has to be the craftsmanship, but you could use AI to build some of the points that you put in. So it help you build some of your details that aren't like a core component of your model. Does that seem a fair way to say that? Um, and the same thing with 3D printing. 3D the judgments with the achievement program with 3D printing is 3D printing is fine as a tool as long as you 100% design the model. So if you're using the 3D printing as a core component of your model, then you would want to make sure you do that design and document that, not let AI do that portion of it. So if you're using it as a helper and not as a core component to replace the craftsmanship, it is a very good tool for modeling. Let's see. And I think, yeah, that's the main point, the main slide I had of there. Are there any questions? Anybody's or any examples that other ways you can think that you've used AI? I used a big selection. I have a QR list of all the different softwares that I've used in different categories. So the main ones I use for the general for photos are the two free ones. ChatGPT is the best known. I like Google Gemini a little bit better. I will say it goes back and forth for which are the better ones to use at any given time because they're always improving the model. And then Meshi is the 3D modeling one that I use the most. Yeah.
So the small amount that I've used, I just simply type it at Google, they have AI.
That's Gemini.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay.
Long soon.
Yeah, let me get the other mic. Okay, so the main thing he was asking how I was inputting the data of typing or talking, a little bit of both. So I used Gemini. If you're using Google, it's running off of Gemini. They also have individual apps that you can put on your phone, both ChatGPT and Gemini, where you can actually just click, talk to it, and it'll output it. Most of this is done on the computer, so I was typing. Yeah, yeah, they do give you the option. A lot of them give the option of both. It's a preference on that.
So I've been converting all my control panels. In fact, they're all done now to tablets. So it's all Wi-Fi and electrical or in diagrams on the tablet that you touch to web pages basically to throw the turnouts and so forth and so on. And Speed's been using AI to help create those and or maybe you're doing something and you want to move the whole thing. He uses AI just to do instead of hand changing every position that if something's drawn to move it all over at one time. And works really, really fast.
Yeah, and Speed can probably tell this a little better. He was describing the time it was involved on the processes. When you were developing, you said there were some you were taking months, and then you did some really recently at a short time.
So when we did the servos for MQ trains, that is right about at 6 years now. And there's a lot of layouts here that some people don't even know that it's running on it. I don't see the gentleman here, but his layout is using it and he doesn't even know it exists. So 6 years to get the product to do what it needs to do, and the web pages for you to use your phone to configure it with, because the main mission here is that grandpa should be able to do this. So we're not giving you the code so we don't confuse you. You just set it up, you use it, server doesn't move far enough, you use your phone, you adjust it a little further. And so it took us about 3 years to get the IO pins working. And so when I turned on the Claude system 3 weeks ago, I generated 3 more products within the same web pages with the same setup in less than 7 minutes each. So I shrunk 6 years into 7 minutes. Coding and then testing it, and also getting unit tester runs, even programming it and setting it up, and then automating the testing for that as well.
Yeah, and I think you said it even found one error that you were seeing in your other one that you'd been fighting for a while. So it debugs them as well. Oh,
Since you've done all this research on AI and these different systems, as far as layout planning, what, in your opinion, which one of these would be adaptable to that specifically? And I've used Chat GPT before, and it you're right, it's not all that smart. But when it comes to actually, after you've talked to it and talked to it and you got it kind of more refined, the only problem I see, I need one that actually will print out the layout according to all your input. And I haven't found one yet that does that. You got any suggestions?
it is getting better as time goes. Everything that was planned on that one was Gemini. I can tell you, because I'm an engineer and designer, I'm gonna redo everything it tells me anyway. But I think as time goes, they will both get better. I can say while I was doing this, I was noticing Gemini made a leap forward early this spring, and it was real surprising that ChatGPT was put a lot of work into improving theirs, and they were trailing by about 3 weeks. So as one improves, the others have to improve to keep relevant. So depending on how you prompt them, I think any of them will get there. Um, the the way that's laid out, Gemini and Chat GPT are the most universal. They have the most broad support of that. So those are definitely the easiest ones to learn. As you get into the other ones, they're more specific. Claude has a lot of good information, but and it's focused more on the coding side, but it still does a lot of other things. Perplexity is another one that is, if you want to use a lot of reference material, it's the university setting uses it a lot. So each one of them are a little better in a different area, but they're all pretty good and getting.
Layout planning software that's out, like merge with some of the AI stuff, make it more feasible to use.
Yeah, he's asking if some of the layout planning software will get into the AI game. I think they'll have to. They will. And AI is not Skynet. It's not taking over the world. It's a leap forward in the way they're processing data. But all of those softwares are going to have to get there, utilize it in some form, or they'll get left behind.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've seen, a friend of mine up north designed his layout, took him 3 years to do it. Perfect. Got the footprints of the building, all the track planning, the whole 9 yards. He neglected one thing. He built the layout and then couldn't run his rolling stock on it because it was too long. So you can use the AI. I took his layout, plugged it in and said, yeah, you can only run these on there. He was pissed like you wouldn't believe. So you can use it to validate something that you've designed, such as, hey, can my 89-foot, box cars run on this? Nope. That. Mhm.
Particularly locomotive.
Exactly.
And it took it from there.
Exactly. So there are things that we don't think about until we have to do a validation process. Looks great on paper
Yeah.
until you have to until you run something. And when you're bouncing off each other, every cuss word in the book has probably been said in the next 30 seconds. You know, it's just you spend all that time doing it, and with one validation before you cut one piece of wood.
Yeah.
you know,
That's
so,
kind of what I was doing, was
so
just making sure that if it'll run those articulateds,
exactly.
it'll probably run anything else that I'm going to put on it.
So I'm going to go back. So Jack had a plan that Dave was working on. He had all kinds. His stuff looked good on paper until you tried to validate it. And said this stuff's too close because it looks good with lines, but when you put rail on there and then you put your rolling stock on there and you put too close, it's not going to work. So it's a validation tool as well as an assistance tool. So you got to have your curves this big, your spacing has to be 2 inches on straights, 2.5 or whatever on the corners, you know, there's where you can put your buildings. You can't have this, there's all kinds of different things, stuff that we don't think about on the forefront. I like to say there's a lot of people thinking 2D and there's a lot of people thinking 3D. Okay. My 3D guys are like Speed and Dave and stuff. They think of stuff that on the 3D aspect of it. Okay. But if you don't think in that, you need that tool, and that's where AI is going to help you out.
Any other comments or questions? All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Now that's one of the presentations that Kevin is going to do at the convention next year. So I didn't see anybody falling asleep, so that must mean it's halfway decent. So, but technology is kind of the premise that we're talking about. So there's new technology even in old stuff. For example, in the woodworking trades, I know Dwayne's a big one in there. There's new technology that they just don't think of. Again, it's at the back end, like how to connect something, different types of wood joints. We use CNC now. If you're a luthier, there's two ways to do it. There's CNC based, which is but then there's that hand piece where you're shaping something to meet the needs of what it is. Some things can be done, some things can't. So there's new things like with the technologies of like just what you saw here, 3D printing buildings and people and parts and pieces and validations. So all those technologies are something we kind of want to focus on because they're coming hard and fast. I don't know if anybody's seen the new 5-axis 3D printers that are out there. They sell for about $5,000 right now. 5-axis 3D printers. Do what, Nat? Rotation. So you have X, Y, Z, right? There's 3. Then you have side, and then you have rotation. That's all 5-axis. And it's multicolor 5-axis. I forget the name of it. I think you've seen a couple of them on there, right? Yeah, multicolored resin printers. I mean, this stuff's coming fast. My father, who would never use a computer for his life, he could do a calculator. My grandmother still uses the beads, right? The little Chinese beads, but abacus, yeah, forget what it was called. But she wouldn't use a calculator because she didn't trust it. My father barely used a computer. Okay, and I'm a techie nerd by trade. So you think of the evolution in less than 80 years. But with that being said, AI is kind of like what servers were 15 years ago. A 6-month-old server was older than a 7-year-old aircraft. Okay, because it's changed. And like I said, anything that Kevin just said is probably obsolete right now. That's how fast it's coming. So, not that you're going to have to embrace it, or fully understand it or stuff like that, but it's coming. So, the more we sort of read into that and what it's coming, those people that are behind us that we hope follow us, they could bring a little more to the table because those techie nerds, they're doing Mickey Mouses and 3D prints that are this tall with, you name it, they got it. It's really cool. They're doing airplane parts, those robots. Ever see those robot wars? Okay. The technology with the servos and the 3D prints and, something that looks like came out of Mad Max or the Terminator. I mean, it's just amazing. It's really cool. Exactly. Tool steel. Printing's tool steel. If you told that to my father, he'd slap you because he was a machinist by trade. So that's kind of tough. So as the new technologies develop over time, we want to kind of focus on them. So that's sort of what I know. There's the traditional stuff, making trees and buildings and mountains and all that other stuff, but I think that's a healthy part of it. But the new stuff, that's what people are a lot more interested in. So Marshall kind of beat me on the shoulder and said, "Man, that's really cool up there, 3D stuff," because he's an AV guy. He's not a 3D guy yet. Yet. Yet.
I don't need to know how all that works. I just need to find some younger technos that do, and I manage them.
He's right. Okay, Dane, hold on. Hold on. 21. Okay.
So my point that I wanted to make is to be careful with AI. If you've noticed in general, when you go online and you just ask a question, at least my browser and search engine will come up with a quick, here's an answer. And more often than not, you can't trust it. And if you notice lately, they have started putting in really small font down at the
Disclaimer.
bottom. This is an automatically generated answer. It may not be correct. Okay. And they're doing that because they're going to get sued, right? They're already getting sued because of these kids that have committed suicide because they've interchanged with whatever. So my personal experience was I was looking for micro spikes. Micro spikes are made from staples. Okay. They're like 1/4 inch tall and they cut the center out of the staples. So you have a little head on each end. Okay. So I asked the computer, I wanted to know the diameter. So I said, what's the diameter of a microspike? And it came back and said it was 1/4 inch. Well, that's not obviously wrong. So be careful. I want to recommend everybody to watch a very interesting program. If you have Prime, you can see it. It's called The Thinking Game. And it's about a guy who started doing AI with games. He was the chess champion in England at age 6. He eventually sold his company to Google, but he stayed in London and he's developed this. If you watch the whole show, it's about an hour and a half. It's worth it. It is tells you what AI can be used for all of humanity. This guy won a Nobel Prize. You should watch it. It is why AI can help us. But be careful. It is very imprecise. When you go out and ask a general question, it's going to everything in the internet and it may not give you the right answer. So you have to be very, very specific and be careful.
Yeah, David was telling me that. He said he'd try to get some information on the internet about this. It's completely wrong about this building right here. Kind of interesting. Donna, everybody was okay. Donna's
Most of you know that I have other hobbies besides model trains, and one of them is the holiday lighting. We now go into a program like Chat GPT, and we tell it what kind of poem we want it to write. We take that out of Chat GPT and we take it into a program called Suno. And we tell it in Suno that we want this poem that we've written to be put to music. We tell it what kind of music. We tell it what kind of beat. It can be reggae, it can be classical, it can be anything. And it shoots out a song. So far, I have eliminated a songwriter. I've eliminated the musicians because it shoots out the song. It'll shoot it out in various instruments, if you like. Yeah, the songwriters say the same thing. And then I take that and I put it into our program called X-Lights. And you have two options there. You can tell X-Lights automatically program the lights, or you can program it yourself. So I can have a song, 2-3 minutes long, in my holiday lighting, and it's never touched anybody's hands. It's completely original, and nobody else has it. So that's what AI has done to another hobby.
so we know what's going to go around the registration desk, right? Gangster rap lighting. Just
Oh.
just a thought. Anybody interested? I mean, come on. Okay. There's a couple of things that we need to do cleanup work here. I'm going to take what's left of the box of the stuff. If nobody wants any of those components over there, we have to clean this place. Okay. There's Food left over, please take some home. There's tea, yeah. Well, tea, Dave, where David? David, can you guys drink the tea? Can you drink the tea? The sweet tea. You want to hang on to it? Will somebody drink it is what I'm asking. Do you think somebody over the next day or two might drink that from your guys? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, I'll leave it. They're not going to be tea drinkers or they're gin drinkers. Take your pick. I mean, there's one that's unopened. So if somebody wants a tea thing, take it with you. It's sweetened. Okay. There's a bunch of sandwiches. Okay. We have to take those. So everybody takes some. There's a whole bunch of pickles. Also, we need to clean the place up. Anybody want to take that N scale layout? Please, please, please. Anybody going once? Speed, you want to take it? Do what? Go ahead. So it's standing up over there. I'd rather not take it home. I'd rather somebody else take it. For those of you who are on the Zoom call, thank you. We'll talk to you next week. Oh, one more thing. Does anybody have a problem? Listen up real quick, real quick. Hello, hello, real quick. Okay. Does anybody have a problem with August 22nd for our next meeting? Okay. That's the fourth Saturday and it's done by one day. So August 22nd, there's a reason why, is that I will be out in Alaska the prior Saturday. So I would have to have somebody else drag all this stuff. And if you guys are waiting until the next Saturday, which would be August 22nd, okay, I'll put it out. August 22nd. I know you won't be. Never gave it back to me.
Thanks, guys.